Well, there we go. 2 years on from the start of the COVID pandemic, and Alice has at last succumbed to it. And I've just got a bad cold. So my sympathies to all of you who've had it much worse than that. But obviously somewhat limited in what I can do now for a few days. And so I'm sorry to have missed out on the opening of St Joe's down at Christchurch on this is today is Friday. So Tracy and Sarah, hope you had an amazing time. All those contacts down there. It's an amazing building, and well done for getting it ready and getting it out there and sorted. And thank you to Ruth too for getting that annual review ready in lightning fashion, even if we had a few little challenges with the printing. But thank you for all of you to getting that sorted. So the COVID thing does underline, doesn't it, the need to keep some of our regimes going, the hand washing and the signing in as well, because that's really helpful to know, okay, if someone does succumb, then who have they been around? So please, if you can keep those things going, recognising where some people want to have a little bit more space, need a mask or whatever, and cleaning and keeping things as far as we can, and taking those LFTs out for the time being until we can't get hold of them. But there are still some in the office knocking around if you need them. Really interesting, some of you will know Dr. Maggie Kirk, who's a GP working with the homeless in Bournemouth. She gave an amazing stat then to us earlier on in the week that over the course of these 2 years, only 13, I mean, that's terrible, but only 13 homeless people have died of COVID. And given the tremendously awful death toll over the last 2 years, it's miraculous that so few who've been out on the street have died through COVID. We're talking with Maggie and actually talking with lots of other church leaders this week about the homelessness situation. Actually, what's really encouraged, David brought together, actually about 14 people turned up, but there were 20 plus 25 different churches and organisations who wanted to come together, because you'll probably be aware there are lots and lots of church hubs springing up all over the area, with people wanting to have a welcome area, having coffee and stuff like that. And we recognise that actually, well, there's a great opportunity here to connect some of this work together, and also to potentially be a great resource for those of our clients who need to move on space and a place where they can regularly meet with trusted support. So it was so encouraging that some of the folk who were at that meeting were saying, actually, it'd be great if we had the right information about what's open when. It would be great if there was a thing, maybe even an app, which could say, okay, if you want to drop in on a church, what's open when? You start bringing together all the different places that have coffee groups and stuff like that. So that's the first step. There's a secondary step. We'll follow up with those church leaders in May. But in the interim, David's going to be working on pulling together some of the ideas that they've talked about, to see if we can offer that as a resource. And maybe a BCARS Mark II will come out of that, where a network, a connection station network maybe, will fall out from that, which will be able to represent the churches, not just around homelessness, but about anybody who's vulnerable. So that was very encouraging. We were talking about health. Obviously, we're really sad that Paul Coombs is having to step away and step back from his work for us at FaithWorks on the gardening team because of his health. Paul, thank you for all you have done. We loved working with you, and we hope we can continue to do that, and we pray for you in your health recovery at the moment. And while we're talking about those stepping back, also want to celebrate the work that John Cornish has done out in Blandford. He led the CMA team, just a marvellous volunteer lead for that work in Blandford. And I know Gail will miss him significantly, but he's decided to take a step back from that work. So we'll be looking to appoint someone to lead that CMA team and CMA work out there. But John's been an incredible servant, doing a lot, way beyond just the CMA stuff over these last 5 or 6 years. So thank you for that, John, and for those who've been involved in that. We had a trustees meeting today, or 2 trustees meeting actually. We had a safeguarding meeting as well, and we covered things like we went through the comms strategy, comms plan. Candice and Ruth been working on that, and so there's things in there like the social media training that I know some of you are coming to in April, not too long before that comes along, and some great stuff in terms of upping our game around social media. As I said, Ruth's been working on the annual review for Christchurch, and that provides us a template to move forward with others. So get yourself ready if that's you, with a few stories, a few photos, and we'll pull together some of the numbers, because we want to have those annual reviews for all the different projects we're involved with. And yeah, on the back of that, of course, we're doing these monthly newsletters. There's now over 930 people who get that monthly newsletter. And actually, there may be some folk who you know who would actually really love to get that newsletter. If so, let Ruth know, because the more that we can get our messages out there, then the stronger the response will be. We talked about safeguarding. We have a trustee safeguarding group, and Sarah Yetman is the lead trustee for that. And we talk about some of the cases that we've had over the last quarter and what's the learning from that. We've had 3 cases that have been reported in this last quarter. So don't forget, we're always keen to situations are very tough that I know many of you are dealing with. And some of them, if you've got a concern about somebody's situation, then it may be, if it doesn't feel right, if it doesn't look right, then it may not be right. And it may be that actually that's something that we need to do a record of concern and actually escalate. So please do keep an eye on that and push it forward if you need to. And finally, we talked about money, and we celebrate the fact that this year the income is probably going to be about £840,000 that's come into all of the different projects. It's extraordinary, isn't it? And I want to salute Sarah Jane over there in Canada, who continues to push forward our funding bids, working with some of you individually. I just did a quick count up, and this is a bit of an estimate. In the last 6 months, over 175,000 come in funding bids. Isn't that amazing? So those are grants, just those grants. But clearly, when we set a budget, and we've got a break-even budget for next year. Some areas of you are doing great in terms of money, some less so. And that's just because of the different projects and how people are responding to those. Well, we want to make sure that we do better than just break even. So we've got some challenges ahead. We need to bring in more cash. So I'd ask you, please keep those costs under control. Really think about any spend that we're putting out there. Let's really think about that. Encourage those regular givers. So if you know people who love the work that you're involved with, maybe they would be willing to give on a regular basis. Don't forget the standing order forms. And we're going to make sure that we've got some ideas, maybe that Rob's starting to think about in terms of commercial ideas. So there's lots going on. I've talked for too long. That's one of the perils of COVID. 2 quick ones. I'm going to send you a note about, there's a big prayer do in Bournemouth that some of the big churches are organising this coming week for Ukraine on the 31st at Lansdowne Church. And this seemed to really, when we're talking about the budget for the future, the thing on my phone came up with this verse from the Bible. Don't worry about tomorrow. Seek first his kingdom, and all these other things will be added to it. That seems pretty appropriate. So don't worry, folks. You've got a big God. Have a good week.